Wow, thank you, Rodney, Hillary. Beautiful. Now we will sing our Lord's Prayer, followed by our meditation hymn, followed by Monica's meditation, and her message entitled, Life is But a Dream.
This day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Our prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
I'd like to invite you all to get relaxed in your chairs. Close your eyes if it's comfortable for you. Relax the muscles around your eyes. Soften your jaw, releasing all tension. Start out with a deep inhale and a long exhale. And again, taking another deep inhale. Exhale, letting the breath all the way out. And feel yourself coming very present and being in this moment. We are here together just to rest quietly and happily in reality. As we do this, a real transformation will be worked in us and for us. You are God's own beloved child, and God is ever giving you His own wisdom, love, power, life, and substance. As we become aware of the truth that we are God's children and that God is the very intelligence within us, we discover health also is our inheritance from the Father. We learn too that there is divine law in life with its established rules that make for health, happiness, and prosperity if we live by them. The real purpose of your life is to express the creation of God, to unfold the many departments of your mind which God has planned for you and which will enable you to know and to do His will. When you know that there is nothing for you to worry about or to fear, you may then relax and feel happy. The soul must be awakened, brought to a realization of truth, and encouraged in the righteous use of all the God-given faculties and powers. The moment we discover anything undesirable in our minds of our lives, we should seek to make the changes necessary to bring about that which is desirable. Life is a school. The great schoolmaster knows just what problems we need to keep us alert and to bring out the wonderful qualities that the Father has measured out for us to come up to. That is our purpose in life. To succeed in bringing forth God's perfect idea, God created us in His own image. Even as He created the little seed to bring forth of its kind, as lives the flower in the seed, so lives the Christ in me. Through the right use of God-given power, a person may make his life the real thing he most wants. God wants all of us to manifest His life, His radiating, glowing health, His joy, in fact, all that He is. The Creator is now breathing His purifying, vitalizing, cleansing breath of life into each cell and fiber of your body, filling you with strength that is a barrier to any and every appearance of negativeness. Power that created you is always at work to restore you and to maintain you in wholeness. Keep your mind filled with joyous, constructive, beautiful, health-producing thoughts that maintain harmony in mind and body. When your mind is peaceful, the healing energies flow through you, your whole body, freely and abundantly. And let's take in one more cleansing breath. Gently come back to the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you, Hillary. And without raising your hands, how many of you resonated with the words in the meditation I just read? How many of you have 100% belief in the words in the meditation? I transcribed these words from a 37-minute YouTube video that I came across. Can anyone guess whose voice was behind the message of that audio? Wayne Dyer? No. Dalai Lama? No. What if I told you everyone in this room has studied this thought belief and this person? The name of the YouTube audio is How to Let God Heal You by Myrtle Fillmore. For me, this 37-minute audio packed in the high points of all the new thought and spiritual books that I have ever read. And I strongly recommend listening to it at least once. Now, when Jeanette first asked me to give a message, I was hesitant because it's been a while since I've done any public speaking. But one thing I've learned in my lifetime is when opportunities fall into my lap, to say yes. I found that they were put in my path for a reason, and it's part of God's design for growth and expansion, especially if I felt a little fear around it, right after I said yes. Weeks ago, Louis asked me what my talk was going to be about. I told him it was going to be about trust and faith, trusting our inner guidance and faith to move forward with it. And I noticed that the content came to me in bits and pieces. In other words, it's been a delightful dance with the universe regarding the progression of this message. I attended the transformational music concert by Robbie Crawford here at Unity on March 14th. Robbie claims this music addresses all the centers of the brain and nervous system and allows you to change how you feel. It will raise your vibration, giving you relief from feeling stress, fatigue, sickness, or being out of balance. At one point of the performance, a thought came across my mind that reminded me I was giving a talk next month. Just as I had that thought, the song Roll, Roll, Roll Your Boat came into my head. I thought it was funny because it's been years, maybe even decades, since I've thought about this children's song. So it was appropriate to have Sesame Street. So I started saying the words in my head. Roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. Wow. I suddenly looked at these lyrics differently. It's more than just a children's song. It had deep spiritual meaning. Now, if you're like me, you have studied a lot of authors and presenters and found maybe one or two of them that you resonate with. For me, and Vida, it's Abraham Hicks. She's my go-to person when I have questions about life. I've listened to her talks on YouTube for many years. She says the larger part of us is non-physical, who chose to live a life on earth to experience contrast as a physical being. As I started thinking about why the song Roll, Roll, Roll Your Boat came into my thoughts, it occurred to me what Abraham Hicks says about living life going downstream, or allowing it to unfold. The opposite would be going against the current, or in resistance, which shows up as fear, worry, lack, or self-doubt. Or frustration, if we try to force things to happen or control them with specific outcomes in mind. Our emotions are indicators of what vibrations we are experiencing. According to Abraham, when we pay attention to how we feel, we will know when we are in alignment with God by when we are in our higher emotions. Our highest vibrational emotions are joy, appreciation, feeling empowered, freedom, passion, and love. In Myrtle's meditation, she says God wants us to manifest His life, glowing health, joy, all that He is. When we are experiencing lower vibrations or negative emotions, we attract experiences that are going to show us more of these vibrations. It's the law of attraction. In fact, if we keep our focus here, it builds momentum, and we may keep going downhill until it comes to a breaking point, or a plea for help, a surrendering to the universe, if you will, to show us things differently. We have to let go of certain thoughts, beliefs, or behaviors. If we don't let go, other experiences will sure to appear again to lead us down that same path of emotions. Talking about current and boats, Louis and I had went to my parents' cottage last June. And it's located in Athelstane, about 20 minutes north of Crivets. And we were talking about what we wanted to do when we were up there. Now, it's pretty popular. The Whitewater Rapids trips are pretty popular around this area. And I've never done them before. And so we talked about it, and we talked to the neighbor, and she had recommended a good business for this particular event. So we decided we were going to do it, and we made reservations for the next day. So we show up, and we are getting instructions on what's going on, and they give us our gear. And here is us. So one of the things we find out when we get there is, well, first of all, this is, Louis had never gone before, and I only had gone once, so we're very inexperienced with this. And I thought we were going to be in one of these nice big rafts. I know my family, my boys and I went a long time ago, and it just was very safe. You know, it looks something like this, you know, where the guy in the back does all the work, and then you're just kind of pretending to help out as he's directing you. Well, as it turns out, it's not going to be one of these big rafts. What they tell us is that you get a choice between a 2-man boat or a 1-man boat. So since Louis and I aren't very experienced with this, so we say, okay, we'll take the 2-man boat. Well, then the guide continues to explain to us that they call that the divorce boat. So we take his recommendation and we take our 1-man raft. Now, this is so I think we jumped in a van, and then we pull a trailer behind us with all the boats on it, and we get down to this point where they drag the rafts off down by the water. And then the guy proceeds to tell us how we're supposed to use this paddle and everything, and then we all bring our boats into the water. Now, this is actually, the coasters is the actual company that we went to. So these are the exact boats that we were in. And as you can see, there wasn't quite this many people, but there may be about 9 or 10. And as you can see, there's lots of rocks in this Peshtigo River. And there's also, the current is looking pretty, you know, rough already right from the start. And he tells us that this isn't like floating down the river in an inner tube. You have to keep paddling the whole time. So we started going down the river, and everything was going pretty good. And then the guide starts waving everybody off to the side, to this little cove where the water was really calm, so we could all sit and listen to what he had to say. So he proceeds to tell us that we're going to approach these rapids that are going to be like the worst part, the hardest part of the trip. And then he says to us, just so you know, 50% of you are going to fall out of your boat. So I'm getting a little nervous now because I was planning on 100% being in my boat the whole time we were going down the river. So obviously I have no choice, can't turn back. The thought came across my mind, but so we go down these rapids, and they look something like this. And by the way, these boats, these little 1-man boats we were in, the name of them are funyaks. I personally would call them death traps, but I don't think that would be a good marketing idea. Okay, so we all have to go down these rapids, and we're kind of spaced out. You know, obviously we're not going to all go down at one time. And as I came down, it turns out that between Louis and I'm the 50% that falls out of the boat. Luckily, somebody grabbed my raft and my paddle, so I just had to get back on my feet and walk over to the boat. And then I went to the side because he had told us that we need to wait for everybody else to come down. Louis came down the rapids. He didn't fall in, but he was backwards. So I don't know how he did not fall in, but he made it down there. And so we all met on the side, and I was still standing there holding my raft and my paddle, not really feeling really excited about getting back in the boat until somebody said, "Look, there's a snake coming off the land into the water." I got back in my boat very quickly. So now we start going down the Peshtigo River, and we're still in this small current, and I'm handling, so I'm getting used to this paddling. And then the guide pulls us aside again. He's like waving us all over. We go back in this little cove. And he says, okay, now this next part we go down, it's going to be, get some rapids again. And you want to make sure you stay to the left side, because on the right side there's this whirlpool. And you don't want to get stuck in it because it's really hard to get out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did we get ourselves into here? So we get up to the rapids, and before I even go down them, I fall out of my boat. Luckily, the guide is right there, and he grabs my boat and my paddle, and he's grabbing me, because at this point, the current is really strong, and he's like telling me to stand up. And I'm like, it was so slippery. The rocks were all slimy and slippery, and I'm like, I can't stand up, I can't stop it. And he's like, come on, get it. So I get into the boat finally, and now I still got to go down these rapids. So I do so. And we get off to the side, and everybody comes down, and then we get back onto the river again. Now, everything was, getting more used to it. I'm like, God, this trip's got to be over pretty soon, right? So one more time, he pulls us over to the side, and we get into this gentle cove, and he tells us that we're going to go through some rough waters, and it's going to be about as long as a football field, like 100 yards. And he's telling us, if you're going to fall in, you don't want to fall in at the beginning, because now you have to go through the rest of the way through these rough waters. And he also tells us, make sure you keep your feet up if you fall in, because you don't want to get your foot stuck in some rock, or, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Here we go again. So we all went up there one at a time and went down the waters, and it was rough. It looked something like this. And one of the things he told us is make sure you keep the nose of the boat into the wave, because if you start going sideways, that's when you get tipped over. So I was going down, and my boat started going sideways, and I'm like, heck, no, I'm not going to fall in again. I didn't say heck, but it turned out I did make it down, and I felt so victorious. It was such a rush that I made it through that, and I didn't fall in. Apparently, Louis must have been feeling victorious through the whole thing, because once he caught up with me, he's like, we should do this again. Part of me is thinking, are you nuts? The other part of me was just so happy we were done that I said, okay. So the guide had told us once we got through this part, we were at the end of our trip, and we were going to come up with some really calm waters. And it looked something like this. Now, this is the point of the trip where we could just relax, and it was so peaceful and beautiful looking around at the trees around us and being in that calm water. Later on, when Louis and I talked about it, this was our favorite part. This place of our trip could feel like a balanced way to live life, being in a state of contentment. This is where we want to strive to be most of the time, and practice the awareness of when we are dipping downward into lower vibrations and feeling negative emotions. And also practice awareness when we are receiving impulses that resonate with us in a positive way. These impulses are guidance from our connected stream of God consciousness within us. Follow your bliss, and it will guide you to opportunities to experience more bliss. This is law of attraction. Just like in life and our whitewater adventure, we are forced to face things that are scary. Maybe even get thrown out of the boat sometimes, but we get back in and try again. Sometimes life can be exhilarating and exciting. Sometimes it's scary, and the fear of the unknown makes us anxious. Abraham says to not focus on the negative things in our past or even our present reality, but to have faith that everything is working out for us. God is right there always. When we search for thoughts that bring us back into positive emotions or higher vibrations, we allow our truest desires to surface. We don't have to live a turbulent life. When we can live life gently and allow our life to unfold in harmony with our true self, Myrtle says, when our mind is peaceful, the healing energies flow through our whole body freely and abundantly. One thing that was revealed to me many years ago is that heal and love are the same meaning. So you could say healing energies or loving energies flow through our whole body when our mind is peaceful. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Albert Einstein. I'm going to say it again. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. When we come across an experience that we consider a challenge, problem, or an issue, our focus is on the problem. And along with that comes negative emotions. And since God doesn't judge anything as a problem, but an earth experience, we are out of alignment or in resistance to the larger part of who we really are, an extension of God, or the word Abraham uses, the non-physical. At this point, we cannot see the solution, like Albert Einstein says in his quote. When we are in our lower vibrations or negative emotions, we are now paddling upstream. When we step away from our focus of the problem, the solution can be allowed to show itself. Now, I want to go another direction for a moment. I want to ask you a question. If you were to pick a living human being in this day and time, who would you say would be queen of the universe? Come on, shout them out. And got any things? Hello! Remember I mentioned earlier how the universe and I have been playing with ideas for this message. Well, I recently went to the movie A Wrinkle in Time. A friend had recommended it to me, and she thought that the premise of the movie was very similar to our beliefs here at Unity. How many of you have seen the movie A Wrinkle in Time? Good, awesome. Here are the four main characters in the movie. The actresses that played the three old-time otherworldly beings were Mindy Kaling, who played Mrs. Who. Well, it's kind of hard to see. Reese Witherspoon, who played Mrs. Whatsit, and Oprah Winfrey, who played Mrs. Which. Here they are in character. Here they are as Barbie dolls. In an article by Vanity Fair, Oprah Winfrey's character was described as a supernatural being and the wisest entity in the world. Ava DuVernay, the director of the movie, didn't have to think twice about who to cast for this part. She says there's not even a question if you're trying to have the all-knowing, wisest lady in the universe, who happens to be one in real life, and you have her phone number, you just call up Oprah Winfrey. In the article, Oprah talks about finding your flow and having faith in who you are. Such a beautiful song you sang today, Ronnie. It's just perfect. She says that's what life is, finding your lane, being able to align with whatever is your real purpose, who you really are, and being true to yourself. In a Time magazine article, Oprah says about the movie, I felt like we were making the new Wizard of Oz for another generation. A Wrinkle in Time is a science fantasy written by American writer Madeleine L'Engle, first published in 1962. One of the main concepts in the book is the struggle between good and evil. The book is also about love, friendship, honor, loyalty, and family. Yet, ironically, critics cry of supposedly satanic undertones. The book won the Newbery Medal, Sequoia Book Award, and Lewis Carroll Shelf Award, and was runner-up for the Hans Christian Andersen Award. The book is considered to be controversial, one of the most frequently banned American books. Even though the novel contains several references to biblical verses, religious groups have challenged the book because its female characters, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which, use magical powers to take Meg and her brother Charlie on a space trip through the fifth dimension. Objecting parents and pastors claim that the characters are really witches practicing black magic under the guise of the New Age religion based on Hindu and, and Buddhist cultures. Now, I actually think it's perfect for a movie night here at Unity. Thank you, Jeanette. Here's Storm Reed, who plays Meg Murray, the 12-year-old heroine in the movie. She says, because I before I got this role, I wanted there to be more little girls that looked like me on TV in lead roles. For her, the movie is, quote, about knowing that you're going to go through dark spaces in your life. You're not going to be perfect, but the most important thing is not trying to please anybody. It's loving yourself inside and out, unquote. Oprah Winfrey says, when you don't see yourself, there's a subconscious psychological manifestation. It's diminishing. But to see yourself as the savior of a world threatened by unquantifiable evil, that will have impact far beyond anything and any marketer, any researcher, or any of us could even know. Now, I've never attended a movie at the theater and wrote notes on what they were saying until this movie. I turned the light down on my phone and started typing things that I could use in my message. One of the best lines in the movie was when Mrs. Witch says, "You just have to find the right frequency and have faith with who you really are." Another powerful line that she says in the movie is, "Be a warrior." Isn't that a great line? Even when you feel there is darkness all around you, love yourself inside and out. Follow your inner guidance and trust that everything is working out for you. Watch and see what the universe will show you. Most likely better than anything that you may have ever imagined. A couple other things that led me to talk about the song Row, Row, Row Your Boat. When I Googled Abraham Hicks' Row, Row, Row Your Boat, a video actually came up for it. I listened to the 4-minute conversation and it made me smile. If you're interested in what they said, I invite you to listen to it on your own. Also, when I stumbled across the YouTube audio of Myrtle Fillmore, I saw this background photo on another YouTube audio titled Healing Letters by Myrtle Fillmore. And you have a choice. Do you want to live a turbulent life, bucking the current, moving away from your alignment with God? Or do you want to flow gently downstream, letting God guide you along the way, creating the life of your dreams? Namaste.